Hello and welcome. Thank you for joining us today. Just over a month ago, Atlassian held their flagship conference, Team 24, in the US, which was an absolutely amazing event filled with loads of announcements, updates, and product reveals. But whilst all of those announcements and updates were great for all the teams located around the world, what does that actually mean for the companies operating in regulated industries? And that's what we really wanted to bring to you here today. And I'm delighted to be joined by a number of expert speakers who will be helping us to unpack that and provide their own unique insights and opinions on what this means for you who are working in regulated industries. So just to move on to introductions, I'll go ahead and introduce myself first. So my name's Craig Wilson. I'm working the product marketing team here at Fox, and we're a marketplace vendor behind a number of leading products for both Jira and Confluence, including tools for document management. And I'll now hand over to Mixon from Atlassian to introduce herself.
Thank you, Craig. Hi, my name is Mix. I'm a solutions engineer here at Atlassian. I've been at Atlassian about 2 years. Before that, I was an Atlassian administrator for 2 on-prem instances for about 7 years. So I've seen both sides of the screen, I'd like to say, and I'm happy to be here with all of you today. Next, I'll pass it off to Rena.
Hi everybody. Thanks for joining us today. I'm the CEO of Radby. We are an Atlassian solution partner that specializes in this niche area of supporting pharmaceutical and medtech companies use Atlassian, especially in regulated sensitive areas like design control, software development lifecycle. Very busy helping some customers do the agile transformation or so-called digital transformation. And we also have an app on the marketplace, Jira Snapshots, that is very often used for traceability reports. And prior to doing what I'm doing today, I was a co-founder of a MedTech company. So I've been in your shoes, so to speak. So I come from your domain and I understand the pain of people trying to innovate, moving really quickly, and having to worry about compliance. So I'll now hand it over to my next co-host, Jan.
Hi, everyone. Yeah, thanks for joining. My name is Jan Czepansky. I'm one of the co-founders of Unicus, which is now part of Ificode. I'm responsible here for marketing, but I'm not only a marketeer. I'm still a consultant, pre-sales engineer, mainly around IT service management right now. Did a lot of cloud migrations. Unicus is a cloud-first solution partner here in Germany. And I would say that we focused especially on financial industries, but we have a really, really strong focus in that area. Over to you, Mariam.
Thank you. I'm Mariam, and I'm one of the co-founders and CEO of SoftComply. And SoftComply is a marketplace partner focusing on compliance on Jira and Confluence. We develop apps for the regulated industries, focusing particularly on medical device industry and help automate FDA MDR compliance for these companies. We started about 8 years ago, and since then we have developed a dozen apps on Jira and Confluence and reached various regulated industries, including automotive, aviation, aerospace, and financial industries, and we offer advanced risk management solution on Jira and compliant electronic quality document management solution on Confluence. And of course, to ensure the data integrity on Confluence Cloud, we also have an automated validation app that you can use to check validate your Confluence Cloud instance once a week. So this is what SoftComply is about. And now back to Craig.
Thanks, Marian. It's great to have all of you join us, and we're bringing a whole wealth of expertise here. So yeah, thank you for your time. So just before moving into the next section, just a quick note of housekeeping. So we're currently live on LinkedIn and YouTube. You can use the comments to submit your questions or anything you want to ask for the panel. This is the beauty of a live event, is you can get the questions answered by us, and we'd really encourage you to make use of that. So please don't hesitate, please do send in your questions, and we have a team in the background that are looking for those questions and will field them through to us. So that's the first piece. The second part is this is being recorded as well. So if you have colleagues or friends that you want to pass on the details of this event to, it will be made available afterwards as well. So again, keep your eyes peeled for that too. So with those being said, and moving on to the agenda, this session has two parts. The first is the insights and the updates from Team 24. And a number of the speakers have different presentations to run through and different perspectives to bring to that. And that will be the first session that will kick off shortly in a moment with Mix. And then we'll move into a panel discussion. And we had a number of topics that were discussed quite frequently at Team, but also things that come up and we know from speaking to different customers are quite front of mind. So we've got a number of topics in this space, which we'll dive into, provide our own expert opinions and insights in that area. But equally, if there's other topics that you want to bring to the table and you're listening in, please do submit them through. We've left enough time to bring in a few questions from the audience as well. So yeah, we'd love for you to engage with that panel discussion and make use of the time that we have together. So with that being said, it's now time to kick off the first session. So I'll pass over to Mix now for the insights and updates from Team 24.
Great. Thank you so much, Craig. So Team was, a wonderful event about a month ago. And so I just wanted to give a quick overview of what we covered there, and especially with an eye towards our regulated industries customers. So here's the fine print. Don't hold me to anything. Things are subject to change. So we have to show this every time we talk about any sort of product direction or anything. So next slide, please. All right. So we had a wonderful, we shared some wonderful milestones at Team. To date, we have over 300,000 customers around the globe. In the last year, we've shipped over 1,000 features to continue to grow and evolve our capabilities for our customers. We added we went from 4 data residency regions to 11 last year. And then we're happy to report that 75% of our enterprise customers now have a footprint within the Atlassian cloud. Next slide, please. And another thing that we introduced at the Team conference was something called the Atlassian System of Work. So drawing from our experience and principles, we've developed an approach for your teams for how they should work together to orchestrate all the moving parts of your business to clarify, improve productivity, and increase collaboration. And we call this the Atlassian System of Work. And so all of this is powered by our products, services, practices, and our platform. The technical enterprise-ready foundation that connects your tools and data to bring you experiences like analytics, automation, AI, and more. So our approach revolves around the idea that every team needs to align work to clear goals, effectively plan and track work across teams, and build, share, and harness knowledge to its full potential. So the more teams centralize work on our platform, the better we can connect all the work happening across your entire business. Next slide, please. And all of this is powered by our teamwork graph, which is our common data model within our platform that connects the critical elements of teamwork: goals, work, and knowledge. And this teamwork graph enhances all of our experiences and capabilities, ranging from automation to AI to collaboration. Next slide, please. And at Team, we announced that we're bringing this system to life by making goals central to our platform. So now the goals that gets those, we're unifying Jira into a single product. So it's no longer Jira Software and Jira Work Management, it's just Jira. And we are reimagining Confluence for knowledge. We're incorporating Loom into it. It's a wonderful tool. And then we're integrating AI into every Atlassian product. Next slide, please. So one of the most exciting announcements to come out of Team was Atlassian Rovo. So Rovo is designed to revolutionize knowledge discovery and action across your organization. So you can think of Rovo as kind of a large knowledge model for your entire company that allows you to move and act faster. It ships with around 20 agents, and then our marketplace partners are also going to develop agents to use with Rovo as well. Next slide, please. Now, let's talk specifically about compliance and security. Another big announcement was the introduction of Atlassian Guard. So Atlassian Guard ensures you can proactively protect your organization's data with access management and advanced data protection, detect suspicious activity with centralized insights and intelligently respond to threats before they become incidents. Next slide, please. Okay, and so this is sort of a a slide that shows all the different capabilities that we have added in these 3 areas of protection, detection, and responding. And it's sort of color coded to show what's available with Guard Standard, Premium, what's available in Enterprise. And so it's, we've incorporated Beacon into that was a point A product, but now we've incorporated that with data classification for Atlassian Guard Premium. Next slide, please. All right, so in terms of compliance, we are constantly adding to the regulatory and compliance frameworks in the industries most important to our customers. And so you can dive deeper into this at the Trust Center on our website and look at the Compliance Resource Center. Next slide, please. And then you may have seen this at Team. I know there's a lot of folks who are excited about this one. There's some new compliance frameworks coming. One of those is IRAP, another one is C5, and then of course we have FedRAMP Moderate. Next slide, please. And so the timeline for FedRAMP Moderate still, we're on target for Q1 of 2025. So that is when we hope to get our FedRAMP Moderate ATO. And then finally, alongside these improvements, we've built more privacy, scale, and security controls for our admins so they can customize the Atlassian cloud to best fit their organization's needs. Okay, so that's it for me. So now I will hand it off to Marian.
Thank you, Mick, so much. It's kind of summarized the whole team in 10 minutes. Wonderful. I'm telling you a little bit about this workshop that we had at Team Event that we organized, or Softcomply organized, particularly focusing on the regulated industries. And the workshop was titled How to Best Support Regulated Industries on Atlassian, and it was aimed to kind of discuss best practices for collaboration between Atlassian app vendors and solution partners to support anybody from their working with or in regulated industries. And that was the second year in a row that we organized such a gathering at Team Event for a group of kind of like-minded people. And last year we started it as a kind of ad hoc breakfast at Starbucks, and this year we had a proper upgrade of a technical workshop with 6 speakers, and I'm happy to say that a lot of them are here. We had 2 from Atlassian. One of them was Mix, and the other was Mix's colleague, Joe. Then we had Jan and Jeff from Solution Partner side. Jan is also here today. And we had from the marketplace vendor side, we had Ulrich from iScience and myself. So what was the aim of the workshop was really to talk about all things compliance related and what are the expectations from the industry and how to support them. And like Mick said, Atlassian has done a lot of work for the regulated industries to help them come to Atlassian and also to Atlassian Cloud. So the idea was also to talk about a little bit about how to support the increasing number of enterprise customers from the regulated industries. And in there, the key is to understand that end users themselves are not usually from the software teams. And although, of course, compliance integrated to software development lifecycle is vital for compliant and safe products, we need to make sure that Atlassian and also the marketplace apps cater for business users from quality and compliance teams. So people who are maybe not that fluent in Atlassian, Jira, and Confluence, so we discussed about how to do that best. And of course, the key to that is collaboration between marketplace partners, solution partners, and Atlassian themselves, especially as Atlassian is kind of talking more and more about moving away from apps to solutions to cover the end-to-end needs of businesses in large enterprises, and of course those that operate in the regulated domains. So like I said, we had 6 very exciting presentations, and they range from like Mick said, FedRAMP, from federal offices to financial institutions. So we had a presentation about an Australian government office migrating to Atlassian Cloud, and about the certifications that Atlassian already has, and of course FedRAMP that will be there from 2025. We talked about financial industry clients migrating to Atlassian Cloud that Jan is probably telling more about, and the kind of the importance of on-prem and cloud apps to have feature parity, and how to ensure and verify the security and data privacy of those marketplace apps. And from there, we of course talked about more about the visibility of what marketplace and solution partners have, and the experience, how to best show the experience that partners have had working with different domains, and how to support that. And then of course we had a very interesting global financial industry organization telling us about integrating compliance, their story about integrating compliance to Atlassian tool stack, and how it requires a kind of a change in culture of moving engineers from the mindset of developing fast to developing the right things at the right time, and putting the accountability back into where it belongs, to the developers, and building a larger and stronger scale community that understands the kind of the change, that the impact of changes in code even. And of course, last but not least, we discussed the challenges that the MedTechs have when migrating to Atlassian Cloud. One of them is the fact that there are dynamic changes to Atlassian tools, and that kind of impedes the manual validation possibility. This is something that is important for compliance in MedTech. And of course, the better visibility of data security, privacy, data localization of apps for regulated industries. And there are basically just the two really main takeaways from the regulated industry workshop, was that while it is it is very important to integrate compliance to Atlassian tool stack to kind of have more safe and efficient products, have reduced risk, and so on. And of course, the slogan that Team 24 had, "Impossible alone, possible together," applies also to us. So marketplace partners, Atlassian, and solution partners focusing together to collaboration on tool validation, on data security, to help and get more regulated industry enterprises to Atlassian Cloud. And to that end, together with iSign, SoftComply created a compliance tech hub, which is a central hub of information for compliance to anybody interested to use Atlassian tool stack with third-party and marketplace apps. So that was kind of the very quick summary of what we talked about in Atlassian Team 24 workshop for the regulated industries. And happy to answer any questions if you have any particular to the workshop and the discussions that were had at that time. And of course, if interested, you can always check out the Compliance Tech Hub as well. And with that, I hand over to Jan, who will probably tell us a little bit more about the financial industry and migration to Atlassian Cloud.
Yeah, thank you very much, Marion. Right, challenges facing companies operating in regulated industries. So what are the challenges? The short answer is security, compliance, and data privacy, obviously. The long answer is that before we start migrating a customer to the cloud, it all starts with a cloud readiness assessment. And during the initial phase with the customer, we try to gain a deeper understanding of your organization and the driving elements for moving into cloud. We help identifying key roles and dependencies and what the critical overall success looks like. And we try to build trust by addressing common concerns, such as security, compliance, and user management. And so all these steps, what we do includes a cloud strategy and an instance scoping. Especially when we go to cloud, we just don't replace a Jira with a Jira. Sometimes we can even set up multiple Jira instances, and depending on the apps you use, we do instance scoping and stuff like that. So we try to find the best way to get you into the cloud and how the cloud could look like for you. We talk about user and access management. How does your users log in right now? What kind of security controls you need in the future? And then we do a technical and professional app assessment. So can we replace, I don't know, I don't name a partner right now, but there are a lot of coding apps out there, and maybe we can replace something with automation. Is the app we have compliant, and can we replace it with a compliant one? Or should we talk to a vendor? And that is actually the next big step. Speaking of compliance and data privacy, you are not migrating into the Atlassian cloud. You're migrating to Atlassian and multiple other clouds. Every application vendor is a cloud provider. So installing an app from the Atlassian marketplace is an exercise in trust. Apps enhance the functionality and usefulness of our Atlassian tools, but they need access to our data to do so. And when we choose to install an app, we're placing our trust in the vendor of our app. Customers in regulated industries have risk management frameworks in place, and part of that is the risk or the vendor risk management process. And every app vendor has to sign at least a data processing addendum. So how do we manage or how do we track your data? How is it located? Do we have two-factor authentication to access that? And standard contractual clauses, which is like the European data protection rules. And all of this can be quite time consuming, to say the least. At one of a really large German bank, it took us about, I would say, 18 months to migrate the first ticket. Not because it is a huge organization and security compliance take that long, but also because we had to contact each and every vendor and go through the same processes like Atlassian and the vendors. They had to improve their systems. They needed to add something. So bring your own key was one of the main factors to get this customer into the cloud. And so regulation can be quite overwhelming, especially when you when it's not part of your daily business. And with NIS2 and DORA, it's not becoming easier, right? So with DORA, which includes NIS a bit, there are requirements regarding backup and restore. So customers need a backup and restore tool in order to make sure that when something happens, their business is still running. So business continuity is a huge topic. And the reason for that is that BaFin and other financial institutes, they put the trust in you that you are capable of managing your data and your vendors you work with, and to make sure that everything runs smooth. And so by the end of this phase, we all have clarity on why we're doing this, who is involved, what to expect from cloud, and overcome the initial challenges associated with the organizational change. Oh, and there was one more thing. Last but not least, we had a feature request for the privacy tab. The privacy tab in the Atlassian Marketplace is a really great start and the right direction to enable trust in the Atlassian apps. But the question was, how is it possible that that partners in the Atlassian Marketplace can have a Cloud Fortified badge when there's no backup and restore in place, no data residency, no bring your own key? And so the idea was to introduce more levels, Cloud Fortified levels, to gain more visibility, clarity, and transparency into that privacy tab, and also maybe to integrate tools like Vanta and SafeBase, no advertisement here, which are also out there and which presents all the information about your SOC 2 and SOC 3 reports, your certifications you have, your audit logs, your monitoring infrastructure. How do you make sure that your app is safe? So that was also a request from customers maybe to add that into the privacy tab as well. And yeah, that's it from my side. I hand over to Rina.
Thanks, Jan. It was very interesting to listen to you because it made me realize how different the financial industry is from pharma and medtech. Looks like our worries are bigger in the sense that we in pharma and medtech we have a big consideration for privacy and security of data, but we always also remember that there is a big concern around the quality of the product that eventually are developed using Atlassian. So Atlassian is never on the shop floor and is never on the hands of a patient, but it is used to develop either an app that eventually will be a healthcare app, or to deliver systems that eventually produce drugs and are critically to safety. So, and we need to always be aware of EU regulation, MDR, FDA, CFR 21 Part 11. So in Mix's presentation, I haven't seen any mentioning of FDA or CFR 21 Part 11. And that's kind of the state of Atlassian has been all along. So historically, of course, when we had on-prem, or when on-prem was the gold standard, people took care of it within their own premises. We would install Atlassian and then upgrade it maybe twice a year. That's kind of a good cadence in the pharma industry, to update Atlassian twice a year and take it through the whole validation process. Now, of course, we are in a different universe today. How do we see, or what do I see pharma and large medtech company do with cloud? I think there are two big groups. One are the people who have been with Atlassian for a very long time, and they have a significant footprint on-prem. Those people, in large part, moved to data center if they were not there historically. So server to data center was what most of the people did, with the idea to eventually, probably sometime, move to cloud. And some early birds already did it. So I'm happy to state in this forum that there are already very, very large players from the pharma industry that are on cloud today with their GXP sensitive apps. How do they do this? Huge investment, a lot of skill. And when I say a lot of skill, it means that they really do have a team that was dedicated to the transition to cloud and to the whole small nitty-gritty details of how to make it compliance. So what I can say, it totally can be done. It's not trivial and it's not risk-free. But even staying on server has its own risks as well. So each company has to evaluate the level of risk that they are willing to take, as well as how important it is for them to do this digital transformation and to be on the cutting edge of the innovation. And whether you believe or not that having the best Atlassian tools out there will help push your team forward. So that's the key question. And apparently for some companies already today in this very highly regulated industry, the answer is yes. We want to move faster with Atlassian and we want to be on cloud. Is this the best answer for everybody? Probably not, because there are a lot of people are still waiting on the fence and waiting to see what the future brings. So these are few sentences about the large organization in this industry. But we cannot forget about the smaller organization. So remember, DC licenses are from 500 people and up, which means that 95% of this industry, which is smaller than 500 people, basically have to go to cloud. And I'm very happy to say that mostly it's done. So I have seen a lot of companies who either started on cloud from the very beginning, from the first day that they adopted Atlassian, or have made this move into cloud. It's whether it's easy or complicated, very much depends on how big the footprint is on a server in the sense of customization. And what we see actually across the board, not only in this industry, is the number of apps is smaller when people move to cloud, and the number of extensions and customizations and tailor-made apps is smaller. It's probably because the cloud offering of Atlassian is wider in terms of the feature set, and people just realize that it's not always worth the effort having an extra app. They may use a bit less apps, maybe do a little bit of compromise on this front, and just have it all taken care of, or most of it taken care of by Atlassian. I cannot complete any overview of this without mentioning software as a medical device. So software as a medical device is a type of companies and a type of apps that creates a big stir in this industry. And why they are important is because teams who develop software as a medical device brought another culture to this industry. So pharma and medical technology used to be a very heavy industry that would look at releasing an update once a year, maybe twice a year. That's not supported in the culture of software as a medical device. They want to push new versions in a much higher cadence, and that actually marries very well with Atlassian. So the whole story of Atlassian and agile development is fed by this SAMD trend, and that creates a certain gravitation on the industry that counterbalances or pushes the industry to be a little bit more daring than traditionally it used to be. So yes, exciting times to be part of that industry and see this change happening. And I look forward to Craig now taking us into the panel and into some of the juicy questions.
Thank you so much. So yeah, as Rena mentioned, I'll be hosting the panel. We have a number of topics that we've already got to get through, but some questions have started coming in from the audience, which is fantastic. So again, please do send them across. And if we have time at the end, we'll get to those. But there has already been some questions come through, so we'll make sure we get time. For the panel as well, I'm going to keep it to a maximum of 5 minutes per question, just to allow us to get through a number of topics. So I will try and shepherd everyone in that direction. So yeah, 5 minutes is what we have. So kicking off first, one of the questions is around cloud. So obviously the server sunsetting got announced back in 2020. We had Team 24, and a lot of the discussion was around cloud and everything around it, like has been mentioned by yourselves in the different sessions. So what were your main takeaways from Team 24 relating to Atlassian's push to cloud? And if we could just focus that in more on the regulated industries rather than the generic takeaways, that would be great.
Can I start?
Anyone? Yeah, go for it. Please do.
I actually noted that there was a slight shift or nuance in the messaging this time around, because while in previous years there was a feeling that everybody is basically pushed to cloud very, very aggressively, shown the direction of travel, this time I heard some of the speaker, or at least one speaker said, do whatever you can, even if it's a pilot project, even if it's one experiment on cloud. So I think there was realization of how difficult it is to some of the people to move to cloud. And there was an opening or a permission or a place where it says, okay, we understand you are not going to move all of your footprint to cloud tomorrow, but please give it a try, start to develop the skills. And I think it's an important one because there is skill, and this skill needs to be nurtured and developed within those companies. So I think I would encourage people who are hesitating and still on the fence to take Atlassian on their word on this.
If I may maybe add a little bit of what was discussed at the workshop, that we discussed a lot about the culture of quality. And I mean, the workshop was focused on compliance in the regulated industries particularly. And we were discussing about the set of enterprises that are using Atlassian Cloud in their software teams, while the quality teams were either not on cloud or not on Atlassian yet. So, and the importance of actually work in one solution rather than have them split, be it, Excel or something else. But the importance of integrating compliance and having it all in one set, having and when Rina was talking about SAMD, so the software as medical devices, this is particularly important because if you are a software, a software developer in that type of company, you should talk about quality and compliance already early on and not have them in the basement of your enterprise offices and using something else than Atlassian or the rest of the tools that the software guys are using. So we were focusing a lot on that and understanding what impedes the quality and compliance teams to move to cloud. And a lot of times it is not that there is something specific blocking them, but it might be that they do not know what is there to support them. So that there is actually the readiness already there. Yeah, from Atlassian side and from the app side, but the knowledge has not yet reached the quality teams, and this is of course a problem.
And Marion, I will just add that, as someone who speaks with customers every day on the phone, I'm getting more and more calls where they are asking about validation. They're from regulated industries, they're from pharma and MedTech, and they're like, how do you help us get to the cloud, because we want to get there, right?
Yeah.
And so and that's how we even got connected, right? Starting that conversation. And just, my personal history is I was responsible for validating tools in an on-prem system. So, I was writing all those test cases, installation qualification, all of that stuff, and keeping our QMS within Confluence. And so, I'm somewhat familiar with that process and how tedious and labor intensive it is. So I think, automation is going to be key in a cloud environment.
Absolutely, you're completely right, because I mean, without automated validation, there is no way to validate your cloud instance, because it changes every day, so you can't do it manually anymore.
Yes, so I think for me the refreshing thing about Team 24, and I must confess I was not in Vegas, but when I heard that there was a person like Mix, I was just saying hallelujah. It's so so good to have someone on the Atlassian side who actually knows what system validations is and have lived in such a situation where this is basically a constraint.
One thing I noticed as well, as an outsider looking in, so obviously attending Team 24 but not being part of Atlassian, is obviously the move to cloud got announced several years ago with the sunsetting of server, and it's been a journey since then. And I think there's one thing to kind of talk, but the second thing is to actually do what you're saying. And it was really nice to see the presentation where you had those compliance standards on the screen. So it shows that Atlassian are investing in achieving different standards, which is great, but it's not kind of done and dusted. It's a continuous process, but it's not just the standards, it's also getting the right expertise in the building. So I know, speaking to yourself, Mix, you've been at Atlassian for under 2 years, but you have history and experience that you can bring to Atlassian. And I know we met other colleagues of yours who bring different perspectives and experience, and that's really important. And actually that shows that Atlassian are taking it seriously, and it's something that is very much in the objective and the goal. So for me, looking in, like, it's all well and good to hear that this is important, but it's also good to see it through the investment in terms of money and time, but also people. And that's definitely one thing I took away from Team this year more than any.
Yeah.
Maybe to add to that real quick is definitely that Atlassian was always a company that listened to the customer, but especially this year I had the feeling, and also a lot of our customers had the feeling, that it's this was their team 24. This was for them, because there was a lot of compliance and regulation stuff in it, and they felt heard from Atlassian and that it's getting into the right direction. And so that was a really good sign.
I'm very happy to hear that.
Cool. Right. So in terms of timing, I'm going to do my role as the shepherd and move us on to the next question. So we've had a question from the audience, which is a great question and very topical given the world of AI and the boom that has happened over the last 2 years. So the question from Rustem is, the EU has recently passed a European regulation on artificial intelligence. There's been an Atlassian statement on that, and the question is, I'm curious if Atlassian is going to issue more details on that bill and introduce any assessments for robo assistants in regard to that law. So yeah, with that being said, and yeah, thank you for posting it on the screen. I will pass over to the panel for any comment or opinions on that question.
Yeah, I can take a little bit of that. I'm not from Atlassian, so I will pass it on to Mix right away. But just as a background, EU has signed the AI Act in February, but it is not yet enforced. So they are currently working on developing guidance documents to how exactly companies are expected to comply with this. And this applies to medical device companies where probably the work will go to notified bodies to start auditing medical device or AI-enabled medical devices, which will, of course, that's another discussion, but the notified bodies will probably be wrecked and not very happy about that because they have a lot of work with MDRs already. But with the AI Act, that will at least double, and the expertise needed to understand the algorithms and the training data quality is going to be enormous. So that's the background of the AI Act, and it is something a lot of companies in the regulated domains are, of course, talking about because that will put a huge overhead to their development, and of course, policymakers around the world are worried that Europe maybe is stagnating the innovation, but very protective of the users of the medical devices, AI-enabled medical devices. So having said that, I think in US this kind of draft legislation is currently discussed in as well. I think, if I'm not wrong, Mix, you probably know this better.
So I know that there are a lot of people internally, who are focused on this. People much smarter than me. So we don't have an official. I don't have an official statement to share with you today. But I can say that we want responsible tech to be at the center of every innovation at Atlassian, and so we're watching this closely. We're going to have more details in the coming months, and you can read about the responsible tech principles that we have on our website in the Trust Center. That's all I have for now. And the main message here is stay tuned.
And that applies to, I think, all the regulated industry products at the moment as well. Everybody is holding on to understanding what the guidelines will be like and what exactly do they need to comply with.
Yeah, and thank you both. And what I would say is the Trust Center and the compliance documents that Atlassian have available are great. So do definitely take the time to check them out. And thank you again for submitting the question to us, and do keep them going as well. Cool. Moving on to the next question. So we've had a little bit of this come through the presentations and the initial discussions that we've had. So, but what is the feeling towards Atlassian Cloud from those customers working in regulated industries?
I think maybe if I can say a few words of what we talked about in the workshop and what some of the clients were saying is to have more clarity and visibility of the cloud tools and apps in terms of data security and privacy. I think Jan also touched upon that, just to understand a little bit more the background. And Atlassian is doing more on that. Apps have in Marketplace already different data privacy security tabs, but they are not visible that visible and understandable for the end users very often. So there is more to do probably in here.
I want to say that one of the things that helps a lot is the fact that Atlassian is not the only platform on cloud. So we may mention, or we are not in a bubble. The world is moving to cloud, and there are many apps that pharma and MedTech companies choose to use who are natively on cloud. So very often what I see that habits, best practices, and processes that they have developed in order to use those other apps help them in deciding to move to Atlassian Cloud. So Atlassian is a little bit unique today, let's say, among the modern platforms where you basically have a choice. If you are large enough, you could be either DC or cloud. But in many, many cases, in other platforms, they don't have a choice. Cloud is the only thing out there. And this actually helps change the tide and change the attitude as well for cloud. The big difference, or a difference, is that some of those other platforms are born for the regulated industries. So they know to speak those languages, and they come out of the box, so to speak, with validation in mind, with CFR 21, Part 11 in mind. So there's a lot of, so if Marion mentioned the tech hub that she created, in many other platforms, it would not be a third-party vendor that would create this hub, but it would be Atlassian. Yes, Marion smiles. I think
I completely agree with you, but I think it's just where these, like you said, platforms are coming from. Are they coming from the software developer side, like Atlassian, or are they coming from the compliance side, like many others? And that's I mean, we 8 years ago thought the same thing. Compliance has to be integrated, onto software development, platform. And for us, Atlassian, that was a no-brainer. It had to be Atlassian. We were like, okay, of course, they are moving to regulated industries, to enterprise business users, and we are seeing the move. It's maybe not as fast as everybody wants, but but we are seeing this.
And I did also want to mention the shared responsibility model that we have. And in line with that, we have recently updated our GXP guidance in our trust center, and you can see where some of the line items are mapped on the specific requirements for those, GXP regulations. So and it's, the shared responsibility model between us. We're trying to sort of lighten the load in terms of the services and systems. And then, the apps, data, users is the responsibility of the customer. So, but on that guidance, you can see there are specific areas that do map to 21 CFR Part 11 as well.
Yes, yes, that is actually a great pointer, great resource to look at. To answer the question here about the feeling, I think it's not so much about the feeling, it's about maybe the vision that top executives have for their company. So if top management thinks that this is going to be, there's a big software driver within our culture, and we have to move fast, then they make everything else work. They will invest the time, the money, the budget in order to figure out how to make that compliance. And at the moment, because most of the best practices in GXP and GAM5 and all that stuff, people are not so skilled yet in how to manage a cloud and SaaS offering. It is that type of effort. And that type of effort is driven, what I see, from top management. If top management does not give the backwind or the wind to that ship, it will not sail to cloud. And if, let's say, the management is risk averse, they say compliance comes first, we are going to stick to that, etc., then that's going to be difficult in this type of company.
Perfect. Thank you so much. a couple more topics to run through, so I'll move us to the next one now, if okay. So, and actually, probably it nicely segues onto what you just said, Rena, to be completely honest. So, how are companies in the regulated industries moving to the cloud successfully? So, are there any examples or kind of stories that you have about how people have achieved it?
Yes, sure. So there are success stories, happily, and I cannot share any names that are mentioned now, although maybe I will mention Caris Life Sciences because it's a well-published use case. They have not moved from server to cloud, but they have started cloud. And actually, their story is a bit interesting because they were forced by management to be on cloud because of another constraint that really happens often in this industry, and that's the fact that this industry works a lot with subcontractors. And they did not want those subcontractors coming into their internal on-prem systems and into their internal VPN. They wanted to hold them on arm's length, and cloud was for them thus a perfect solution from that point of view. So they made it happen. There are other very big players on the pharma industry. I think for me, besides, I already mentioned the fact that you need to put a team on that and have the management vision and the management endorsement to take certain unconservative quality decisions. Another factor is that you need to start your cloud instance from scratch. So I think that a lot of the people that move from the enterprise, the big enterprise that move from on-prem, have such a complicated configuration on on-prem, so many apps, and you don't need necessarily to carry all this baggage with you. So I would recommend to look at the cloud with fresh eyes and just start from scratch, because the platform itself, if anybody who ever worked on-prem goes to cloud, you will have a feeling almost that these are two different platforms. Yes? So don't try to just migrate it as is. Start from scratch. Look at it as an opportunity to create a system from scratch.
Yep. Maybe to add to that, we had this point already, I think, in our discussion, and definitely in some previous webinars and also in Las Vegas, was you probably have departments in your company that is not yet using the Atlassian tools, and they can start fresh in the Atlassian cloud as well. And to close these gaps from in different teams, right? It's not only software development, it's not only IT teams, it's business teams a lot. And that was also a message, a key message, I think, from Atlassian this year. We live in a world of the busyness of, or the culture of busyness, I think how a business review is calling that. And so it's so easy to get started in the Atlassian cloud. It's so easy to adapt that to your work you do every day, that it's really an important thought to just start right away. And then definitely a migration is not replacing a Jira with a Jira. I just touched on that you have the chance for instant scoping when you are large enough, let's say, and you can set up enterprise instances. So scope your instances, focus also on apps you really need. And then see the migration as a transformation. It's a historic event probably in your organization lifetime to get rid of processes you don't need anymore, and maybe even apps. And that obviously takes time. And yeah, I touched the stuff about security and compliance, obviously. But yeah, it's a transformation for what you have right now. Start with security and compliance first, and wherever you can, start using the Atlassian tools right away.
And Jan, that's a great point. You know, when I talk to customers, and sometimes there's a tendency to say, I have to have this one for one. You know, it's this way here. How do I directly translate this to the cloud so it's the exact same thing? And so I just encourage people to just tap the brakes and take a step back and look at maybe this process isn't needed anymore. Maybe I can do this process, I can accomplish it completely differently in the cloud. I don't have to have this script, or, you know, because so it is a good opportunity to sort of examine your processes as well.
And maybe just to add from the apps side of things. So we we heard that the server is not around anymore a few years back, and a lot of vendors changed gears and started developing cloud apps that are now superior to the on-prem apps. So don't be afraid to look around for these apps and see what do they have to offer, because not all of them are actually having this feature parity anymore. The cloud apps have gone much more advanced than their server version used to be. So don't be afraid to look around and see what the cloud app world is doing. But to kind of talk what or add to what Jan was saying about processes. That was also something that was added a few times or talked about a few times on the stage at Team 24, was that think about your processes first, because as in I was an academic, and we always talked about, you know, a fool with a tool is still a fool. So you know, you have to have your processes straight first. And of course, we have also had a few customers who have said that, you know, this going to cloud is a refreshing start of a better process. So let's work first on how we want to work better, and then we'll adopt cloud. And that has been something that we have seen a few times. So very similar to what Rina and Jan were saying just now.
And especially when Atlassian Rovo comes out, this will be an absolute game changer to any business process out there, because every app vendor will have a Rovo somewhere. So forget about replacing what you have. It's just moving it to the cloud. You will replace everything. So it's a good idea to start now in thinking about it.
True.
Awesome. Thank you, everyone, for your insights. So we're rapidly running out of time. Obviously, this is a topic we could get into a lot more detail about. So just to close off nicely with the future and looking forward, and it'll be a rapid quick fire because we've only got a minute left. So what does the future look like for companies who want to move to the Atlassian cloud, and specifically those in the regulated space? So Mix, I'll throw it to you first, if that's all right.
Sure. So, you know, I just think, you know, customers need to know that compliance is top of mind, right? We have to automate our own compliance processes so that we can keep up with these frameworks and add more, because we know that these are requirements, right? The migrations that have happened up until this point, you know, most of sort of the simple migrations, those who were going to go to the cloud with an easy route, that's already happened. So the migrations that are happening now are probably going to be the more complex ones, and compliance is going to play a key role in that.
Cool. Any other perspectives on the future?
Yeah, maybe to again touch on that, what I just said. Make sure that you start now with thinking about going to cloud, still when you're on server, because what happens in cloud will definitely change the way you work. And the sooner you will start with that, it will makes it easier for you to go to cloud and to adapt, because otherwise it will be a heavy burden to adapt what is already in cloud. But it also gets easier. I mean, easier and more connected. I think that is the positive side. We've seen Atlassian really understands the platform as a platform, and you can integrate everything. And it's so easy to integrate your different business tools you already have in your system, in your environment. So it's also easier on the other hand.
Perfect. We'll go beyond for a minute because I know, Rena, you wanted to say something, but after that, we'll close out. So, Rena, over to you.
Okay, I'll just say that the AI was so prominent in Team 24, and the take that the Atlassian has on it is so exciting and breathtaking. And I could not just think Atlassian promised, or one of their claims to cloud was, we will innovate in cloud. And here's AI, and it's something that can never be delivered on-prem. So that's super exciting, but it will not be available on DC no matter what Atlassian does or doesn't do. It's just a part of how AI works. So have a think of it.
Yeah, no, thank you. I mean, as I said, this is a huge topic, and it's such an important one because if you're working within the regulated spaces, you're doing mission critical, business critical, general roles and jobs, and your businesses are moving the world forward. So it's such an important customer group to get this right. And what I would say is, well, first off, thank you ever so much for joining us today, and a huge thank you to the panel that I've got with me. This would not have been possible without you. But what I would say as a closing remark, please do connect with these individuals on LinkedIn or directly, because these are people that live and breathe this every day. They've learned huge amounts over the last few years and will continue to do so. It's a journey. So please do take the opportunity to connect with these individuals who are experts in this field, because that is where you get the true value. So with that being said, a huge thank you for joining us. And yeah, let's keep the conversation going, and we look forward to seeing you at another event soon. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.